What up, everybody? It's George Langer with Silverhammer Surveillance. Here on the channel, we talk smart home tech and we talk home security. And for the last several months, we've talked about colon cancer because I was diagnosed with colon cancer in October 2022. It was stage 4 because it spread to my liver. I thought it was very important to share that journey and spread awareness. So we did several videos on my journey and all my health updates and things like that, especially when I was more active at the beginning. I went through all sorts of things, the bowel blockage, bowel perforation, colostomy bag, several things that I shared with you guys. And man, we got several colonoscopies, almost 200 colonoscopies because of these videos. So fantastic to spread that awareness and know that we're responsible for people going and doing that. Some people had precancerous polyps that were removed that prevented them from having cancer because of our videos. They did that. Amazing, amazing stuff. But then as my health journey kind of just leveled off, as I was just going through chemo and there wasn't much new going on, I told you we're going to go back to our normal content and then just do health updates at the end or do specific videos on my health updates if it was warranted. Well, today it is warranted. So I went through a crazy process. It's been a crazy road since October 2022. But this past Tuesday, I had what's called a PET scan. And in the cancer process, there's several different types of scans. There's a CT scan, there's MRIs, and there's a PET scan. CT scans are very basic, MRIs are a little more detailed, and PET scans light up cancer like a Christmas tree. Now, you can't do PET scans all the time in your journey because insurance companies don't like to pay for them because they're very expensive. So sometimes you have to settle for CT scans, sometimes MRIs, but PET scans really show you what's going on. So I had finished 12 cycles of Folfox chemo, and upon completion of that, the plan was always to do a PET scan to see if that worked, basically, or to see how we were doing. And so that was scheduled for last Tuesday, and man, I was sweating it. I got to tell you, everything was pointing in the right direction. My last CT scan, and I had an emergency surgery in February for a bowel perforation, which could have taken me out. My little tumor tried to take me out on its way out, but it didn't succeed. The surgery was successful, and I made it through. As part of that surgery, we removed my tumor and 35 lymph nodes. Those lymph nodes were cancer-free. Then we did a CT scan after I recovered from that surgery. That was cancer-free. Everything was looking really good, but I was just, this PET scan, you still worry because as cancer survivors, you have what's called scan anxiety, and it's a real thing. Every scan, whether things are going great or not, you just don't know what changed. So I was sweating this PET scan. I think everybody involved thought it was going to be good, but I just didn't know. So Tuesday, I went through it, did great. I didn't do so well on MRIs. If you go back to our cancer playlist, you'll know how I biffed that. Did great with CT scans. CT scans are easy. They take like 6 minutes, but MRIs are like 35 minutes in a small tube, and claustrophobia got the best of me. PET scans are a little easier, a little bigger tube. You go in and out of it, so it's not so claustrophobic. I just put a washcloth over my face and listen to some yacht rock, and I get through them. I've had 3 of them. One of them was bad. One of them was the worst day of my life. That's when we discovered that I had multifocal lesions on my liver, which are tumors. And so at first we thought that I had stage 1 or 2 cancer. And then we found these spots on my liver that turned out to be cancerous, which turned me to stage 4. But at that point I was stage 4 curable because we thought we were going to be able to take these 2 tumors out and your liver regenerates. And so you do the surgery, you get them removed, and then your liver regenerates and you're fine. But then when I did that first PET scan, we found multifocal tumors throughout my liver. They were little, but they were there. And that made it inoperable. And at that point, I became incurable. So that was PET scan number 1. Now, in January, I had a bowel blockage. So I had a bowel perforation in February, a bowel blockage in January. January and February were not good for me. Except I had a PET scan in between those 2 things. And between those 2 horrible events, I had this great PET scan. It was cancer-free, life was good, and then like a week later, I had this bowel perforation that almost took me out. But anyway, so I've had 3 of them. This was my 3rd, and I just didn't know how it was going to go. But I am here to tell you right now that I found out the results on Thursday, which was yesterday, as of this filming, and it was the greatest news of my life, one of the best days of my life. If you go back on Instagram, or I'll show you the video here, actually, I'll show you my primal reaction because, man, it's just important that you see this as part of my journey. So just check this out. So I'm trying to hold it together in a good way because I just received the best news of my life. Dr. Hike, badass Dr. Hike, walked in the room and said, your scans looked fantastic. Then proceeded to tell me that it was NED. I'm NED. So we got some stuff to figure out as far as if I'm going to do maintenance chemo or what we're going to do just to keep it at bay. But best news of my life, best day ever. Delaney being born. It's the only day that is even close to this. And that was the best day of my life. This is a close second. So I will share more details in the future. But for all of you that are worried about me, I thank you so much, and so sweet of you, and again, life-changing. But this is fantastic freaking news. I'm over the moon. I'm trying not to unravel in a very good way. So, peace and love. So there you go. That was my reaction as I walked out of Nebraska cancer specialist yesterday. Man, I was so happy. I was just about to unravel in a very good way, as I said. But yeah, so basically, Dr. Hike, who's my badass oncologist, he's the quarterback of this situation. Man, if my life was the NFL, I could own the Super Bowl because this guy is awesome. So anyway, I went to visit him after my PET scan to get the results. And we're sitting there waiting. Teresa and I were sweating it. And he walked in, and the first thing he said is, your scan looked absolutely fantastic. And I'm telling you, never in my life have I had such weight lifted off my shoulders, because what that means is I've been fighting for what's called NED, no evidence of disease. And that basically means that in these scans, they can't find cancer. It doesn't necessarily mean you're cured or anything. It's kind of like the old school remission, but it just means that we can't find cancer, which is fantastic. So when he said fantastic, basically what I've been struggling for and that he wouldn't give me official word on was NED, N-E-D. But yesterday he did it. He said it. He said that there's no evidence of disease on that scan, so I am officially NED. And I've been struggling for that since October of 2022. So man, he started telling me that, I was so happy. So from there, we went on to next steps because, I'm stage 4. This is great news, but you still worry about it coming back. I was told that I was not curable at this point. So for months I've been thinking, it's great. I want to extend my life as much as possible, but I just didn't know what the future held. But NED was a huge step forward because it just means that, it's going to prolong my life because at this point I don't really have cancer going on inside of me. So that was fantastic. So what we did is, basically I've completed 12 cycles of Folfox, like I said. And this was to see how that went, and it worked. My body responded very well to chemo. I had very little side effects. I only had some neuropathy, which is numbness in your hands and your mouth, but it really only lasted from my infusion days, which was Thursdays every 2 weeks. And then it lasted from that Thursday till Monday, and like clockwork, it pretty much went away. I didn't have all the horrible side effects other people do, so that was fantastic. But anyway, so we needed to talk about next steps because at stage 4, you just don't give up after NED. You just don't stop the fight. You still got to make sure that you just knock it out. I say it's like a boxing match, but a long one. And you're struggling for the TKO instead of the knockout punch. You're not going to knock it out just one time. It's like a TKO situation. So you just want to continue up the fight. So we were discussing that, and basically where we go from here, we're kind of at a fork in the road. And so I can either do one of two things. I can either take a break from chemo, and we can test me every 3 months to see how I'm doing, or we can do what's called maintenance chemo, and basically we do the same chemo I had been doing for those 12 cycles, except we remove an ingredient called oxaliplatin, and oxaliplatin is the ingredient that causes that neuropathy. But what Dr. Hike told me was that it's only 20% of the cocktail as far as the cancer fighting part of the cocktail. The other 80% would still be in there fighting cancer. And so basically I could go through this maintenance chemo, still have 80% of the good stuff. I shouldn't say good stuff because it's poison going in your body, but anyway, the cancer fighting stuff. And then we'd remove that 20%, which means that I could go through maintenance chemo with basically no side effects. So I basically told him I'm good either way, but we're trying to decide. It's obviously a very important next step. So there is a test called a Signatera Test, and basically what you can do is it basically looks for residual disease in your body. So even though the PET scan didn't show any evidence of it, but it's, it looks a little more detailed for residual stuff that could still be in there. So he said that he doesn't normally rely on those, he doesn't base everything on those normally, but in my situation, because we're kind of at this fork, it might be a good tool to help us decide which way to go. So that day, which was yesterday, I took that blood, it's a blood test, and I took that test, and basically it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks to get that back. And then, if there's residual stuff going on, then I'm going to go through that maintenance chemo. If there's not, then I'm going to get to take a break. And that's awesome. I mean, we've got several cool trips planned. We're going to Chicago, we're going to Miami, going to CES to hang out with some other YouTubers next spring. I would love to be off chemo for that. But I also don't want to give up this fight, and I don't want to get complacent just because I'm NED. I'm going to kick cancer's ass, and I'm going to continue to do so until I've knocked it out. The TKO, baby, it's going to happen. So I'm good with whatever Dr. Hike tells me to do. I've been in such good hands with him. So he's the man. So I'm going to listen and do what he says because it's worked this far. Got me to NED stage 4. And here I stand before you, one of the happiest men alive because of what happened yesterday. But yeah, so that's where we're at. And so we're waiting on the results of that, and then I'll determine what's next. And so really the only thing bad that happened as part of this process is my colostomy bag. I've got a colostomy bag, and my catchphrase is, instead of pooping out my butt, I poop out my gut. So what? So I'm making it my new normal. I'm rocking it with confidence. But ideally, I would like to get rid of this thing. And, they can be reversed, and we just didn't know at what part of the process that it would be reversed. But he's telling me maybe 2 years would be a good time frame to get this reversed. So it's a little longer than expected. But man, I could have got the worst news of my life yesterday. And so the fact that I got such good news, I'll take this colostomy bag. I'm getting used to it. I am rocking it with confidence. It is my new normal. So that's fine with me. I can deal with that for 2 years. I've got a nice belt for it. I barely even know it's there anymore. So anyway, so that was the one negative, is that just I've got to wait a little longer for that. But man, the pros far outweigh the cons of that. That's the one con. Otherwise, this is the most beautiful news of my life. So with that being said, I'm sitting here at Happy Camper. I'm sitting here at Happy Camper for 2 reasons. Number one is my medical team. I got Dr. Hike, quarterback, amazing. I love that dude. I love him so much. He's basically the reason I'm standing here. Dr. Hernandez, who's my colorectal surgeon, when I had that bowel perforation, he operated on me, emergency surgery. He came in and helped me out the same afternoon that I went into the emergency room, because a bowel perforation, basically everything's bleeding or flooding into your body from your bowels, and that's not good. That can kill you. So he came in and successfully operated on me. Not only did he solve the perforation, but he also took out that tumor, which puts us way ahead of the game, because normally you go through 12 cycles of chemo with the hope to shrink the tumor, and then at the end of those cycles, that's when you have it removed. So it doesn't matter how well you're doing during chemo, you still got that tumor inside you. So I've had the peace of mind of knowing that tumor has been gone since February. So that surgery, that bowel perforation surgery, ended up being a blessing for me. But it's only a blessing because I made it through it. It would not have been a blessing if Dr. Hernandez didn't save me, because I wouldn't be standing here right now. But thankfully he did, and he's a wonderful man, and he saved my ass, literally. And so here I sit, way ahead of the game, because that tumor is gone. And then just think of my medical team. When you go in the chemo infusions here at the Nebraska Cancer Specialists, there's 2 RNs there, Kathy and Tori. I talk about them on Instagram and Facebook. Man, so they're there with you when you're in infusion. They take care of you. They put in the chemo cocktail and all that good stuff. They are 2 of the most lovely, delightful, wonderful human beings I've ever encountered. And they take what could be a horrible experience, which is chemo, putting poison in your body. So many people just dread it. I mean, it was almost fun because of them. The side effects suck and everything, but when you go in that infusion center, they make it so nice and chill, and they're so delightful. So I can't thank them enough. I can't thank my entire medical team enough. So that's one reason I'm standing here so happy. Other reason I'm standing here so happy is you guys, the best subscribers in the world. We call you the Langabir Fight Club. Man, I can't even tell you how much you've helped me maintain a positive attitude and just fight till I die attitude, because you guys have had my back. You've been so patient with me through this journey. It's not normal for a YouTuber to go from tech and security to cancer, but you've stuck with me, and I can't even tell you how appreciative I am of that. And the comments and the well wishes and the prayers and the support, it has meant the absolute world to me, and it still does. I know that this fight is not over. I just won round 1. There are going to be other rounds in this fight, and I know that. But I know that everybody out there has my back, and it just means the world to me, and it just makes me feel like I can win every round of this thing. And so I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for sticking with me and just hanging out with this journey. I mean, man, you guys are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human beings from around the world. It just, the fact that I've got worldwide support, I call you my worldwide army. Langabeer Fight Club, worldwide, baby. It's unreal, and it's changed my life. It's changed my outlook on humanity for the better, and you're all beautiful, beautiful souls, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. But yeah, so we are sitting pretty right now, and we're going back to normal content, and if anything changes, I'll let you know when I get that test back, the Signatera test, and we figure out which way I'm going. I'll let you know, but man, this means that I can get my life back to normal. I can be excited about things. I don't have to dread this PET scan anymore, or the chemo with the side effects. I'm such a good place right now. And for stage 4, I can't tell you how appreciative I am of that, because stage 4 is bad. It's very bad. And the fact that I'm standing here, maybe the healthiest I've been since my teens. I'm riding my bike 15 miles a day. I'm taking walks to cool down. I'm taking walks with the wife later at night. My workouts have helped. I've lost 60 pounds, and that's all good weight, not cancer weight. So I am sitting pretty, considering I have stage 4 freaking cancer. And so yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I provided my part of the fight, but man, the support of my medical team and all of you out there means the world to me. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you. Again, Facebook and Instagram, I do a lot more of this, but here on YouTube, I mean, you guys have been so supportive, and I know some of you don't have Instagram and Facebook, so I wanted to do this for you, but there you go. So, man, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my medical team. Thank you to all of you. Peace and love.